Hey guys, today I want to talk about Far Cry 5. This video is going to be kind of a hybrid of a review and an essay, so let's have some fun with that. Far Cry 5 is the latest entry in Ubisoft's insane open-world FPS franchise, and you know what? It's a fucking blast. That's what I think anyway. I can't remember the last time I 100% completed an open-world game in under 2 weeks, but hey, 60 hours and a severe case of sleep deprivation later, here we are. Now, I've been a hardcore fan of Far Cry since 2012. Well, maybe not a hardcore Far Cry fan overall, maybe just Far Cry 3. Yeah, I'm a hardcore fan of Far Cry 3. That game is pretty much gaming perfection, combining a stunning open world that features tons of stuff to do with versatile first-person shooter gameplay to great success. But what I think really makes Far Cry 3 work so incredibly well comes down to a single word. That word is agency. I don't want to get too hung up on Far Cry 3 because that's another video for another day, but the one thing that defines the identity of that game is the deep connection between the agency of the player and the character. The story of Far Cry 3 is inherently tied to player actions in a way few non-RPG stories have ever really achieved. Some context for those who never played Far Cry 3 and subsequently suck because it's pretty much the best thing ever. You don't suck, I love you, but please play this game. In Far Cry 3, you play as Jason Brody, a rich white boy on Kentucky with his rich white friends in Southeast Asia who all get kidnapped by pirates. Jason escapes and is rescued by the local resistance who teach him how to survive and fight back in an effort to save his friends. The real kicker though is that the further you go down the figurative rabbit hole of violent extremities, the more warped and twisted Jason becomes, to the point that the final question of the game is whether he wants to return to the person he once was at all. The story itself isn't really that original, but applying it to a game in which the player goes from a clumsy and unskilled party boy to a warrior giving masterclasses in mass murder in the space of just 30 hours is next level brilliant.
Here, cash for weapons. You want to save your brother, right?
I've never shot anyone before.
Jason is insecure and uncertain at first, but by the end, he's a different person. He's a dangerous warlord who has been shaped by the increasingly savage acts he's committed, and he loses sight of who he was in the first place. And that's why I think that so much of Far Cry 5 just doesn't work. Look, on the gameplay front, Far Cry 5 is pure bliss. Bliss, like the stuff in the... Never mind. This is quite simply just a really fun game. Ubisoft Montreal nailed their evolution of Far Cry's exploration, allowing players to organically discover all that the fictional setting of Hope County, Montana has to offer by simply traversing it. There's no more radio towers or anything like that. You kind of just go, and the world unfolds before you. Assassin's Creed Origins tapped into this same approach too, but the sheer density of Far Cry 5 cuts the tedium of Origins' bloated excess. It's pretty hard to go more than 50 steps in any direction in Far Cry 5 without finding something new to do, and that chaining of activities makes it incredibly hard to put the game down. Trust me, I know, it's taken me like a week to get my normal sleep pattern back. Exploration is made all the more compelling thanks to some truly outstanding audio-visual design. Everything in the game looks and sounds utterly fantastic, from the eye-melting splendor of Hope County's vibrant and varied vistas to the absolute eargasm that occurs while you're raining fiery chaos down on your enemies. Far Cry 5 is just a game that excels when it comes to offering you an immersive world to indulge in. Of course, shooting stuff is just as fun as you'd expect it to be. The Far Cry formula seems to always produce something sweet, and this franchise entry is just outright delicious when it comes to climbing, driving, shooting, and stabbing. Whether you're just out seeing the sights from the sky, or sticking dynamite in an enemy's butt, or trying to tear off a bull's ballsack with a tractor, yes, that is a thing that you do in this game, Far Cry 5 never lost its chaotic fun factor. While I think the weapon choices are kind of lame, there's too many guns that all have the same stats and look the same, and it kind of just makes that vast selection seem like there's really only a handful of weapons you can use. But anyway, I think Far Cry has always been less about the tools you have and more about how you use them. Far Cry 5 is no exception here. It's all about doing things your way. And that brings me back to agency, because where the fuck did the thing that defines Far Cry go when it comes to the story? In Far Cry 5, you play as an unnamed rookie sheriff's deputy who attempts to arrest Joseph Seed, the leader of a militarized doomsday cult that's unsurprisingly up to some shady stuff.
Rookie, cuff this son of a bitch.
Things of course go wrong in that typical Far Cry fashion. Joseph escapes and his equally twisted siblings John, Jacob and Faith capture your team. Now, on your own, in a violent and dangerous place, you'll have to make new friends to attempt to take down the Seed family and liberate Hope County. The thing is that it all kind of works, so a lot of people aren't going to see the inherent issue I find with this. You're simply let loose in a giant open world where you're free to get shit done in any order you want until you do enough of that shit that you can go after Joseph again. So yeah, there's your agency, right? How you handle the experience with the game is up to you, the player. My problem is, what about the character? Who are you in Far Cry 5? What makes you who you are at the start of the game, and how do the things you experience change you by the end? Why does this fight matter to you? What makes you keep going even when you're given the chance to walk away? I just don't know. I understand that this all kind of comes down to gameplay agency, the whole do what you want, however you want, whenever you want to, but I feel like that's only one half of what makes Far Cry Far Cry.
What just happened?
Ever since its evolution back in 2012 into the game we know today, this series has always been driven by the relationship between its character and its story. You cannot have one without the other. There's no Far Cry 3 without Jason Brody, there's no Far Cry 4 without AJ Gale, and there's no Far Cry Primal without Takar. The conquest of the campaign is initiated by that character, whether done willingly or by accident, and the progression of that narrative is driven by the personal desire of that character to take further action. In Far Cry 5, I just played because it was fun to play, but I never felt like it needed to be me that was eliminating this specific threat. It didn't help that I didn't get to understand Joseph's motivation until the final hours of the game, but it really felt like the whole time I was just some random sheriff's deputy who was doing their job. And that's not okay, because the situation could have been avoided so easily if my character would just say something. What does my character care about? What does he think of his friends, his enemies? Does he despise all this chaos? Does he revel in it? Does he have a family back home? Does he have family here? What's his relationship to this cult? Does he know people that are part of it? Was he part of it? Like seriously, who the fuck am I? That kind of information forms the basis of a character that can be used to construct a reason for them to fight beyond just bad people are doing bad things, better go stop them. We know that, we're playing the game. We'll shoot and stab whatever gets in our way. But sitting at home in the comfort of our couches, what reason do we have to care about what's going on? If we care about the person whose life we've been given control of, we feel further compelled to fight. You may think that this is complete bullshit right now, but honestly try and tell me that you don't feel more attached to Jason Brody than this nameless deputy number 453. Like, who are you? And I mean, the monologues overall are pretty good, right? It's part of the Far Cry brand, and hey, the villains here are all decently interesting, even if they're not quite Vars or Buck or Pagan Min. Being talked at in Far Cry is nothing new, but not responding is. I just don't understand the decision to make this character mute again. It was dry in Far Cry 2, and it's pretty much like a handicap on the story in this game. It's like debilitating. There's ample time again and again where some form of identity could have been prescribed to the character, and yet Ubisoft seems to go out of their way to avoid it. I don't know if this was on the cards at some stage and it was eliminated to cut corners on a male and female voice actor or what, but the decision had me at odds with Far Cry 5 the entire time. It plays like a Far Cry game and it feels like a Far Cry game, but I just don't know if it is one. The brand that Far Cry has defined itself as since 2012 is a power fantasy about a nobody rising up to become somebody, and the introspective journey that both the character and the player go on as they find out what kind of person they truly are. Far Cry 5 definitely has something to say when it comes to the actions taken as a means to an end, but when it comes to the protagonist, Far Cry 5 has nothing to say at all, and it's been a lot less impactful on me because of it. Alright, so obviously that video got pretty negative towards the end, but I would actually recommend picking up Far Cry 5. I had an absolute blast with it. It's the most addicted I've kind of been to playing a game in quite some time, so it is definitely worth buying. This is my first kind of real gaming video up on the channel. I was very excited about doing this one. Hopefully the topic is still relevant, but if you do want to see more of this stuff, please subscribe if you haven't already. I do want to do more gaming related videos, so let me know what you thought of this one in the comments section below. You can also find us on the social media links on screen on Twitter and Instagram. We hang out on there a lot and you'll get to find out what videos are coming up next. I do have some very, very cool stuff on the horizon, which you guys will be seeing soon. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.